Hey everyone, welcome back to the Nature's Calls podcast. As always, I am your host, Nature Erdman, here to talk about all things Chargers football. And go Bolts. Family trust respect. Good, solid win over the Raiders. I would have loved something a little bit more dominant than what we got, honestly. Um, I feel like we, again, looked like the significantly better team the entirety of the night, but we didn't execute down the back half. Um, didn't result in a loss, so I'm not going to be upset about it by any means. I'm just glad to start 2-0 and both over division opponents with big game coming up on Sunday to start off 3-0 against all division opponents and possibly take a 2-game lead over all three teams in the division. Um, I would be ecstatic. I would be ecstatic. I wish I came down last night after the game, but it was late. It was a Monday, so had to hold off for 24 hours. So I know most of you have already gotten your reaction podcasts after the game in for the day, gotten your fix. So hopefully this coming out on a Wednesday gives you that a little bit more. But I mean, overall, fantastic game. I think everybody played very well. I think the defense was smothering. I think more than anything, it was an excellent showcase from the defense. There was definitely some, I'm going to call it lackluster moments from the offense, but there was a lot of positives in there as well. So I was kind of thinking about how I wanted to go through this. If I want to start with negatives, if I want to start with positives, or if I just want to kind of go position by position and go from there. So I figured let's just go ahead and go that way. That way we don't get too bogged down in anything negative and too over the top on anything positive. And who else would we start with? What other position would we start with than the man of the hour himself, Justin Herbert? Played an excellent game, a, a very quality game, but it wasn't quite to the level that we saw in the Chiefs game. He was not quite as crisp on the throws that he made. Obviously, they were excellent. The QJ deep bomb, a lot of them were pinpoint passes. I think there was a couple of passes in there that obviously weren't perfect. I don't expect him to be perfect all the time, but I'm also going to call it out when I see it. That led to us winning 20-9 instead of 27-9 or anything else even more. Um, Specifically on a couple of throws, he was just behind. There was definitely a throw to Keenan and definitely a throw to, I think it was Trey. No, it might have been a QJ ball, but either way, yes, it was that ball that got tipped going to QJ over the middle. He was a hair late on. He was behind on a pass to Keenan at the very end on third down. He obviously threw that horrible duck that was supposed to go to Keenan just right into the hands of the defender. Basically a free giveaway pick. He had a couple like that back shoulder throw to QJ in the first quarter on the left sideline. QJ had the safety and the corner beat deep. He could have read that a little bit better and thrown it deep. There was a couple other just kind of wonky reads in there. Some throws that he kind of tried to force into a window where defenders were draped all over him. I haven't looked at the all 22, but I couldn't really see if there was anybody else available or open for the throw to go to. There wasn't a tremendous amount of pressure where he had to get rid of the ball. So there were some questionable decisions, some less than perfect throws, but that's me nitpicking pretty hard. Like Justin Herbert is the man. Justin Herbert is that guy. Everybody on the national stage got to see it. I don't care how the NFL tracks the stats. He didn't have any fumbles in the game. Um, we're in good hands. And if that's hopefully closer to the floor, like obviously he'll face some incredible defenses that'll probably make life a little bit harder on him. But we've continued to dominate over the first two games. You can tell me it was a close game all you want versus the Chiefs. We looked like the better team in every phase. We looked like the better team in every phase again versus the Raiders. And I think we'll continue to see that as we move forward. But we're getting into a gauntlet here soon. But I tell you what, we both teams that we faced, we made them look pretty bad overall. So as a Chargers fan, I don't think you can ask for a whole lot more than that, especially starting against your division rivals. So um, props to Mr. Herbert. He's definitely carrying a little bit different swagger about him. He's moving a lot, which I love to see. There's definitely a couple times where he starts scrambling out of the pocket or looking like he's going to scramble out of the pocket, and there's some awkward kind of motions and some awkward hits that he's taking. I don't love to see that from an injury perspective. That just does make me nervous. Then him obviously getting just speared in the head. those things obviously I don't love to see, but I'm glad to see that he feels healthy enough and confident enough and has that swagger about him to go out and do that. So I think it's going to open up another level of this offense for us. I think it already has opened up another level of this offense for us, and I can't wait to see kind of how it progresses throughout the offseason, or throughout the season. Let's go to offensive line. So offensive line, Joe Alt was obviously just a masterclass. Mekhi Becton had an okay game. Trey Pipkins had a very solid game in pass protection, of course. Bozeman had his faults. Zion had his faults. But overall, they held up very well, especially against Max Crosby. Obviously, he had that one forced fumble at the end of the game, but I mean, for the most part, you're going against a star pass rusher in the league, a very disruptive defensive lineman, and we held our own. We did the right job. And not only that, in pass protection, there were some plays where we completely made the defensive line obsolete. Like that's the biggest difference to me versus last year. Is last year and even the year before, it was very we might like you had better plays than others to where Justin Herbert did have time to get the ball out, but there was almost never any plays where you would just hold the offensive line for seconds upon seconds upon seconds, hold the defensive line. And they did. They have been. It's been fantastic. Like, we're going to have moments where they cave. Every offensive line does, even the best of the best. But there's some plays out there where they're absolutely shutting down the defensive line. And it gives me a tremendous amount of hope, a tremendous amount of, I guess, adds more expectation, honestly, than what I had before. Because the offensive line, with the way that the rest of the team is built out, if we stay moderately healthy, is built that we can be a contender if our offensive line can do 75-80% of what it just did on Monday night. So thrilled to see it. Hope it continues. I will say that's the pass protection side of things. Run blocking is still a struggle. We have not figured that out, and I don't know if it's a scheme thing. I don't know if it's a running back thing, but the blocking up front was by all means not good. Not good at all. So a lot of work to be done there. We'll see how they kind of gel together and kind of figure it out. Obviously, Joe Alt sliding to the left, Pipkins coming in on the right tackle side of things, and then not getting as much cohesion with Mekhi Becton in the interior because we were flip-flopping left guard and center all off season long. That could have affected kind of the way that the team gels. So I'm fingers crossed that we see a little bit more improvement along the way. I was kind of hoping it was a little bit more of a flash in the pan with the Chiefs, with how strong their interior defense can be. The Raiders not as much, and so to see us still struggle in that regard was a bit disappointing. But we will see where it goes and continues. But we can't continue to just call plays this pass heavy and expect it to be successful. Like right now, with the fear of Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh being a run-first team is keeping defenses honest. At some point, we have to actually be able to run the ball to keep defenses honest. And I want to be able to run out the clock. Like, you have a game like that, like we had on Monday night against the Raiders, like against a better offense, and you give them that many possessions, second half of the third quarter, fourth quarter, that many opportunities, like they will go out there and score, and they will dominate time of possession. Like, we can't be unable to run the ball effectively to ice games and put teams away and wear down the defense. Like, we need that. Otherwise, it's going to be the opposite side. Like, we are luckily able to get the ball back quickly this game. But if you're going against the Ravens, like, no, they're going to run the ball. They're going to wear down your defense. And then if you get off the field quickly because we can't run the ball, then your defense trots back out there exhausted. So definitely taken our lumps there a little bit. I don't think Denver is going to be our get-right game as much as I would love it to be against that defense. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I have a lot of hope just based off of the way that they've done in pass protection, that hopefully that can translate into the running game a little bit over the next couple of weeks, and we'll see some improvement there. The backs, I mean, Hampton obviously had his struggles. He did have a really good run down near the goal line that got called back on penalty, or the defense had a penalty, so his run didn't count. He had that longer breakaway run at the end of the game. I still think he had some flashes. I think he's a rookie, and I don't know how much you guys have listened to me and watched the things that I post on X in the first place. But I really wanted Najee Harris to be healthy going into this season, and it's not that I don't want Hampton to be the RB1. It's that I want an even workload. I want time for Hampton to figure out NFL speed, and he had that bonehead move of running out of bounds in week 1. He had that bonehead fumble in week 2. And so, I mean, he's going to take his lumps. He's a rookie. It's expected. So I really want Najee to stay healthy. Now, the flip side of this coin is Najee looked really good. Najee looked really good. And so if Hampton has a little bit less workload as he has time to improve, let's be honest, most NFL rookies don't ball out for the first 6 weeks of the year. I know running back's a little bit different, but it hasn't been easy sledding for him either. So I'd love to see Najee get a little bit more involved and run as effectively as he did on Monday. I'd love to see Hampton's workload kind of go more to a 50-50 share with Najee. I think he's done pretty all right in the pass protection side of things. I'd love to see him get a little bit more involved in the passing game. We know Najee can catch passes too. He's not a huge threat out of the backfield, but we're moving in the right direction. I'm not too stressed about the running back position yet. Do I think that Hampton, with the way that he's progressed so far, is going to be world beater, top of the league running back by season's end? Probably not. Never really saw him that way in the first place, but we don't need him to be. We just need him to be solid. So overall, not stressed about the performance. Tight ends. I mean, so game. Disley had the one catch. Conklin wasn't really involved. We put tight ends in blocking situations against Max Crosby over and over again, and not having Tucker Fisk on the field. It's just weird. It was weird to me. The way we utilize them from a play calling perspective. We'll get to Greg Roman at the end, but just from a play calling perspective, the way that we decided to utilize these tight ends was an interesting choice to me. I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on them. They didn't do much. So, and they weren't really put in a position to succeed all that well either. So, receivers, the trio looks legit. QJ is being used the way I wanted him to from the get-go, so I am thrilled to see that. Definitely a couple balls that were more contested catch balls. He seems a little bit more comfortable with it. I'm not going to sit here and trust his hands when the game is on the line. And it doesn't seem like Justin does either. Like he does at times. Yeah, cool. I'm glad he does. But he has Ladd and he has Keenan for those situations. And usually when the game's on the line, you don't need a long bomb. But QJ, the way that we've been using him across the middle of the field, and people can hate on the jet sweep all they want, because the Darius Davis one was a fail and the QJ one was obviously a fail. But I'm happy to see him getting involved in that. Like he's a yak threat. He's fast. He's big. He's strong. He's elusive. Problem is he can't catch the ball that well. He's doing pretty well at it right now. I'm not going to complain about it. But what I will say is yeah, use him to his strengths. I would way rather, especially how much they've talked about it. They talked about it in the offseason. Like you put your best players on the field and in a position to succeed, you find a way to work with their strengths. And yet all last year it was QJ go routes and jump balls and against number one corners, and it wasn't going to work. It never was going to work. So excited to see them kind of pivot, go away from that, and excited to see QJ flourish. I don't need him to be an alpha number one wide receiver in the league. Just need him to be good enough. And the way that he's played the first 2 weeks is by all means good enough. He should have size advantages in most situations. And when you have to double cover Ladd or Keenan, like you can't, someone's going to be single covered out there. Take advantage of it. And we seem to be so far. Ladd had a solid game, as Ladd always does. Some of the moving and shaking and yak stuff that he does, I definitely think he needs to be a little bit more aware of the first down marker, but I think that'll come with time and experience. Keenan's Keenan. I love that man. So happy to have him home. Anything else we want to touch on the offense? Tight ends, running backs, wide receivers. Yeah, no, I think that's good. So let's get to the star of the show, which is the defense, because they were suffocating. They were, everything you hoped it would be. A mild amount of increased talent on defense, but against superior opponents and second year in Jesse Minter's scheme. And I had a lot of questions at how we were going to look. Now, the Chiefs haven't looked like world beaters by any means, and the Raiders are the Raiders, so I'm not going to put myself get too far ahead of myself. But God, where do you want to start? Let's start with Derwin and Dayon. Dayon coming out sick, put questionable, getting IVs and oxygen on the sideline. Just a ridiculous game. I'm so happy to see him perform that way in this situation. It just solidifies everything we've seen from him. And obviously, we all love him as a person. His interview about being selected as a captain, like a game like this is what that's all about. That's why you were selected as a captain. And for him to go out there and not only play, but perform to the level that he did was phenomenal. And Derwin James, oh my God. I will be honest. I trusted Jesse Minter. I haven't actually talked about, I don't even think I've ever spoken this out loud, but I was nervous about him going to the big nickel role basically all the time. Like it made sense to me. Derwin James is phenomenal closer to the ball. He's excellent at covering tight ends. But what happens to the back end of the defense? And I guess I chose to trust the process. And oh my God, is it working? And he's just his ball knowledge, his understanding of the game is just off the charts. He's always where he needs to be. He seems to have kind of reined in his aggression, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but with the penalties and everything else that he was receiving, it is. That we're playing closer to the ball. So it's just overall as the defense, it seems so simple when you watch it back, and yet nobody's ever open. And it's just incredibly impressive because it just looks like Shell's own defense to me. And I don't know enough about defense. I'll be honest, that is not my area of expertise. But I don't understand the scheme, and I've watched it so much, and I've seen the way that Jesse Minter kind of rotated players in and out before to lock down these zones and these certain route trees and things like that. But the fluidity at which the defense is reading the way that the offense is going to play and transitioning into the location and spot that they need to be to continue to just not allow anybody to be open. It's ridiculous. It's fantastic. I'm Jesse Minter. I will soak you up as long as I have you, because if you survive this year, I know you're gone the year after. I hope that you're here long enough for us to win a Super Bowl. Let's just put it that way, because I think that with you at the helm, 2 years, it could get done. Could even get done this year with the way that we're playing right now, and if we can improve. So would love to see it. Now, let's just finish out the rest of the position groups. Linebackers overall played very well with Denzel out. Troy Dye filled in for that role admirably. Obviously, we'll see where definitely the attrition's getting to us there. Don't want to see anything else come up, but the linebackers overall played very well. I don't really have a whole lot of knocks on any of the defense. Tony Jefferson, same thing. Came in, had the interception, was all over the field all night. With Molden out, I thought that those two, Jefferson and Alohi, patrolled the back end well. I think they're a good yin and yang, because Alohi has this incredible intuition about how to get close to the ball, but occasionally he's wrong. And when he's wrong, he's very wrong. And so it's very hot and cold with Alohi. And then Tony Jefferson, I feel like on the opposite end, is just kind of always in the right position. Might not be the freakish athletic guy that he used to be and be able to always be in the right position at all times, or as far as go make a play on the ball. But he's always able to make a play on the ball carrier because he's close enough to where he needs to be. He's got an excellent vision of the field from the back end. So I love the way that duo played today. And I just think we have so much depth at that safety position that obviously can't wait for Molden to come back, but I feel very comfortable with the way that the team's performed. Corners, I mean, the only one who really had a suspect game was Cam Hart, and he even had some flashes in there, but definitely a little bit more negative than positive if I was going to overall judge the game. Also slightly made of glass is still a concern, but he definitely had some huge plays down the way as well. St. Juste made one play in there that I remember seeing. Dante Jackson has looked fantastic, but Tarheeb still, like, If you have been on the fence about buying a Tarheeb's jersey, go buy one, because that man's going to be a Charger for a very long time. Like, I think back at how frustrating like Chris Harris was for me for the Broncos. Drove me nuts. And I really feel like we just got our version of Chris Harris with the Chargers. In fact, Chris Harris was a later round draft pick, wasn't he? I'd have to think back. That was a long time ago. But he is going to be a Charger for a very long time. And he looks like that. Like, this is a year 1 to year 2 jump, similar to what we saw from Deion Henley. Not quite to the same extent, because Deion didn't play year 1, but it's good. It's excellent to see that big of a jump and that much transition from him, and to see that growth happening, because obviously there was some excitement with our 5th round rookie draft picks last year between Cam Hart and Heeb. Cam Hart, with the injuries and everything else and the way that he's performed so far, a little bit less of that optimism, but not at all the situation from Heeb. Just been balling out, and I can't wait to see what he does the rest of the year. Just fantastic. There's 3 absolute studs on the defense. Deion and Heeb, the future of this defense, the core of this defense. And then Derwin James, one of the longest tenured Chargers at this point. Just a phenomenal leader back there, still playing at an elite level. It just, those 3 are a very strong core defensive trio. The interior, I thought, played very well. Overall, Tart made some plays, almost got us in trouble a couple times. He's going to have to rein it in, but I love the aggression. I love the meanness. We needed the mean streak. We've all talked about needing a little bit of mean streak. We've also talked about needing a diva at wide receiver and things like that. Like, obviously we don't have that, but it's nice having that on the team. Like, it feels like something we've been missing for a long time, and I love that nastiness that he's bringing out there on the defensive line. And then Jamari Caldwell getting his first NFL sack. But we've seen it. We've seen it from the preseason game, since preseason game 2, really, is where it started to flash heavily. He had a couple of good plays in preseason week 1, but since then, the steady improvement, and the way that he was forcing through that interior offensive line. Now, obviously, it's not the strongest unit in the NFL, but at least didn't look like it last night. But the aggression and the pressure that he's getting, he hardly loses ground. And we saw that in week 1 as well. And then in week 2, we saw him actually penetrate and get to the quarterback. So I know that was a huge thing with Jamari Caldwell coming out in the draft. Was he going to be who he was last year at Oregon? Excellent run stopper, not a whole lot of a defensive pressure presence. Or was he going to be what he was in his college career before that, which was absolutely applying pressure on the quarterback? And it looks like we're going to get the best of both worlds as Chargers fans. So thrilled to see it. Thrilled. All right, condolences now. Khalil Mack. I really hope it's not as bad as it looked. We're hearing some positive news. Could be a couple weeks, could be 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the severity. I don't love not hearing anything today, since it's been 24 hours, but I feel like if it was severe or broken or anything like that, we would have heard about it today. So it does give me a little bit of a glimmer of hope. It's just figuring out what his timetable for return is. And I really hope that he's able to get back by the time we get into that final 6-game stretch at the end of the regular season. If he can be back within 6 to 8 weeks and we get him back by week 10, that's a very different story, very different conversation than if we get him back week 16. Like, those are 2 very different things. So prayers up for Khalil Mack. He was playing an outstanding game. He still has so much juice left in the tank, but the defensive pass rush is going to be difficult to watch without him. We just don't have enough strength on that position group. Bud Dupree, I still don't really understand the extension. I think he's a fine 3rd, 4th pass rusher, but is he pass rush 2 now? Caleb Murphy was awesome through the preseason. Huge amount of value that he added was on the special team side of things. He's not there to be a full-time pass rusher by all means. Now, Thule obviously went monster mode in the end of the game after Khalil Mack went out. We need that. I'm glad to see that he still has it, that he can do that. but we are not built to effectively get pressure on the quarterback with Khalil Mack out. So I hate to be like go yelling at Joe Ortiz like so many people do on Twitter, but this is one of those situations, and I don't care who it is necessarily. I don't need you to go make a trade and go get a super high caliber player, especially while we figure out what the Khalil Mack like final decision is from the doctors. But you got to go get someone. You got to go get some kind of depth into that rotation. You can't just go to the practice squad, Tremon Morris, Brash, something like that to come in and lift up that edge position. You need to go out and get someone. Trade, free agency, I don't care what it is, and I'm not asking you to spend a ton, but I'd feel a lot more comfortable with a little bit more help. But yeah, I mean, overall, very successful game. The coaching staff, I think, did quite well overall. Obviously, Jesse Minter's the hero of the day with the way that defense performed. Hard to say that he's not. I thought Harbaugh did pretty good on the time clock management side of things today. I think Roman overall, I'm still impressed with how much he's pivoted over the last 12 months versus what he had last year. I'm glad to see the routes improve, but there was a little bit more questionable decisions in this game for sure than the Chiefs game. The 3 running plays at the goal line was, I think, one of them. If you're going to go for it on 4th down, I understand it, but not going for it on 4th down, kicking that field goal from the 1-2 yard line, that's a little bit suspect to me. I don't know when Justin Herbert's playing the way that he is and the wide receivers playing the way that they are, and you've got 2 immediate separators in Ladd and Keenan, that you're built for short yardage passing situations and scenarios like that. QJ's got the height if you trust him in the end zone on 4th down. I thought it was a very questionable decision there. I still think that we're having some scheme issues in the rushing side of things overall. So I hope that kind of works itself out. The jet sweeps were not necessarily the overall short yardage situation. I thought was poorly managed. And again, I don't want to hate on the play calls themselves. I just think the timing of the play calls was incredibly odd to me. I get it. I'm glad you're catching the defense off guard, but it ain't always working. So, still an improvement over last year. Definitely a little bit of a downgrade from week 1. I'll be curious to see how he continues to manage that moving forward, but we're going to see some regression on that side of things if we can't establish a run game. So, figuring out the run blocking side of things really, really needs to be the first priority. So, but other than that, I mean, really strong, solid win. Like I said, the Raiders have a tough matchup this week with the Commanders. I think the Chiefs have the Giants. It's a little bit of softer matchup, but they're already 0-2. So if we beat the Broncos on Sunday, you find yourself them at 1-2, Chiefs at 1-2, Raiders possibly at 1-2, and us at 3-0 at the top of the division with tiebreakers with wins over all 3 opponents and two games ahead on the division. I'm not saying it guarantees anything. Please slow down on that. We've all seen this, how these seasons go, but it gives me a lot of hope, a lot of promise moving forward, and it definitely gives us a head start in winning this division. So, let me know what you all think. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Glad to see the win. It always feels a little bit better when it's against the Raiders. Hopefully we're able to sweep them when we play them again towards the end of the season. But let's move on to Denver and go Bolts. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in. If you guys like what you heard, please feel free to give me a like and subscribe. Helps me a ton. Also helps you guys stay up to date on all new content as I'm releasing it. If you're not already on my YouTube channel, feel free to hop on over at Nature's Calls Pod. Also on Spotify under Nature's Calls Podcast. Or if you like to consume your content just by scrolling, go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter at Erdman Chargers. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Talk to you real soon.